So, actually, I'm so grateful for this collaboration of TechTO and Venture Out. It's really important stuff. If you check out my vintage, you'll understand why. So that is true. I did start my career selling graves, and it really wasn't that glamorous. Like most people, I finished university and I had lots of debt, had to take this job. It was telemarketing. I had to call people up and ask them if they'd ever thought about prearranging their cemetery requirements. And if you want a quick lesson in resilience and dealing with rejection, that's a job you take. So I have 5 minutes to inspire you, make you laugh, and freak you out. So I'm going to do my best here. I am very passionate about health data, and it's not just because it has afforded me this great career, which is as the CEO and co-founder of Alexio Corporation. And we're in the business of protecting healthcare data, largely in smaller healthcare practices like dentists and physicians. And this is a big problem. I'm passionate about it from another reason. I'm a patient, I'm a consumer of healthcare like most of you. And it's very disturbing to me that there are hundreds of thousands of breached health records on the dark web for sale. And I think most people naturally understand that they should be protecting their financial information, their credit card data. But medical records command a much higher price on the dark web, and healthcare is the most attacked industry because health records contain all of the necessary ingredients for identity theft. And so what ends up happening is they leverage this in a number of ways, lots of which are disturbing. Financial fraud, mortgage fraud, insurance fraud's a big deal in the US. Medication, prescription medication fraud. This is how a lot of the prescription drug trade is leveraged. But it's more important than that for me. I'm also a parent. I have family like the rest of you, and I'm seeing a lot more cases of extortion. And when you think about all of the information that you give your doctor, your therapist, you think about all of the blood tests, the diagnoses, the diseases, the STDs, everything that they've collected about you. Think of all the conversations you've had with your therapist about your own situations, about your partner, about your family. And if you look at this bubble, these are all the types of things that are in these medical records. So it's bad enough that these things can be leveraged to steal our identities. These types of pieces of information about us have a far graver consequence if they're out floating around on the dark web, which they are, because these cyber bad guys don't have a team of people that just pull out what's necessary to steal money from you. They have all these other pieces of sensitive, largely what could be very embarrassing and crucial pieces of information about us as individuals. And if that type of information is out there, searchable, the way most of our other information already is, I think we're going to have some very grave outcomes when it comes to future relationships, employability, insurability, and so on. Everyone's probably spinning in their head now thinking about everything that their doctor or their therapist has about them. So I think we need to, I know I spend my days doing my best to protect this type of information for people like you and I, but I think we have to go a step further now. And what I would love to see is that everybody starts being a little bit more inquisitive about what organizations are doing when they collect your information. It's not enough to simply be given a consent form to sign in which you give them permission to collect and use your information. I think we need to take it a step further now and say, hey, you know what? If you want this data, you have to impress upon me what you're doing to protect it. So If you're super freaked out now and want to discuss any of this more, you can follow or either speak with me afterwards or follow my company on Instagram and Twitter. Thanks.
Questions? I'll start. What's what's the one thing anyone that you'd recommend everyone in this room they should do to protect their data? It's one simple step.
I think that people do different levels of things for themselves. The bigger problem that I see is that healthcare specifically has a very bad track record in doing all the things they're supposed to do to safeguard our data. So one of the things that we did was a 3-year study on smaller healthcare practices, mostly dentists. This is not going to make me a very popular person with my client base, but only 9% of them passed basic security risk assessment. They also have legal obligations under like compliance and privacy laws, and they're not living up to those either. So it's sort of, to me right now, feels a bit like a buyer beware type of scenario. I'm really concerned about it just as an individual. Obviously, there's good stuff in it for me if I can prove these things, because then I have more healthcare providers buying my services, right? But I think we need to ask more questions. Small business too.
Hi, great talk, Anne. Was curious to know what got you into this?
How did I get from Graves to here? I actually started my real career in the dental industry, and I worked in dental pharma for a number of years. But digital records became a big thing. A little earlier even for dentists with digital imaging and so on. So I saw this trend towards electronic health records, and then obviously saw the trend towards the necessity to protect it, and saw that these smaller organizations that have very small networks don't really have big budgets or the availability of enterprise class security solutions, which they need, but they can't afford and don't have big teams of people to implement. So I just wanted to fill that gap.
Last question.
Hey, how's it going? Sorry. Yeah. So the companies that you're selling this to, are they currently just kind of saving all of these documents in like Word documents or something? Or are they using health record management systems that just aren't up to scratch?
No, the record systems, typically many of them are quite good and do a good job of like encryption is there. Where the gaps are just basically at endpoint level. So there's just nothing really going on there, and not a really great understanding of the severity of or not the severity, but the sensitivity of the information.
Thank you.